Welcome back to P3. A picture is said to speak 1,000 words. One photograph, titled Past and Future in Our Hands by Israeli photographer Karen Gillerman-Harel, speaks volumes about the history of Israel. I recently had a chance to chat with the artist at the Israeli Presidential Conference, which was organized in part by the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Karen, you are a photographer here in Israel, and you've been taking some amazing photos that are very arresting. When you see them, there's so many layers going on. Tell me a little bit about this photo that has been very popular. What's it called?
Thank you. The photograph is actually called Past and Future in Our Hands. The photograph shows the past of the Holocaust, the present of the flag, the future generations, the future of our children. It's all about optimism and hope. It is actually a great-grandmother of my best friend.
Really?
And her fourth-generation great-granddaughter.
So this is really 4 generations being represented.
Absolutely.
In this
4 women generation in the same family. The grandmother was born in Poland, survived the concentration camp in Auschwitz. Her name is Dora Dreiblatt. And her great-granddaughter, born in 2007 in Tel Aviv, Israel, Daniela.
It's such a, I mean, you see it, and it's very simple. It's profound layers that are going on that talk about the pain of the past, and yet the hope of this young child's arm, which is very innocent. Obviously, she doesn't have any idea what her grandmother, great-grandmother's gone through, and yet here, the state of Israel represents all of that being brought together. How has this photo been received here in Israel?
Well, it's been acknowledged and discussed in Israel and worldwide. This photograph is actually due to be symbolic, a symbol of the state of Israel by producing a stamp to commemorate the International Holocaust Day.
Wow.
And a poster by the government of Israel, and it will be announced on January 27th, 2010, which is actually the International Holocaust Memorial Day.
What an honor for you to be able to receive to be able to be acknowledged like that as an artist.
Thank you. I feel it's an important achievement, and I'm very happy that as an artist I was able to create such a moving image. It could be my lifetime image. I hope it's not.
Yeah.
I have a few others, and I document life, and this is one of my images.
How do you, I mean, this photo is so clear. I'm sure there's other images. I haven't seen them all yet, but how do you move when you're in the midst of the chaos of the world you live in? How do you find beauty in the midst of pain?
It's very important for me to show the beauty and the hope that actually shines through the darkness of the people, the nation, the conflict. And in every image I take, I show the optimism. If it's even a beggar on the street, I would show the light and the strength and the beauty around it. And if it's a friend who suffered from cancer and survived it, I will also show the hope. So it's very important for me always in every image, whether it's black and white or color, to show the hope. There's a beautiful exhibition now in Israel of 60 artists. It was for for the 60th Independence Day. They selected 60 artists who took the backgammon game, which exists for many, many years.
Yeah.
Christians, Muslims, Jewish people all played the backgammon game, and they gave it an artistic expression.
Wow.
Beautiful. Sculptors, painters, photographers, so I'm part of it as well.
Well, it was an absolute pleasure meeting you, Karen. Thank you so much for the work you're doing.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
In recent years, viruses have been ravaging crops, particularly tomatoes, across the Middle East. At the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Dr. Chaim Rabinovich is doing pioneering work that is stopping the spread of viruses on crops like the tomato plant. In fact, the seeds Dr. Rabinovich has developed have sold over $1 billion worth over the last several years. I visited the professor on the university's research farm near Tel Aviv. Professor, I know that your work with cherry tomatoes has been really helpful at bringing tasty and slow ripening tomatoes to the shelf. But another thing you're working on is how to prevent the disease from spreading and wiping out entire crops of cherry tomatoes. Explain how this works. What are we looking at with the different plants here?
Well, what we are in is a greenhouse where we do breeding work for selection for resistance against a virus called the tomato yellow leaf curl virus, which is spread all over the Middle East. Egypt, Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, Israel, Jordan, etc., 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 and spread to Mexico, to Australia, Southeast Asia, and so on and so forth. The virus is devastating. It's being transmitted by an insect called whitefly, and once the plant is being stung by the insect, the plant will be stunted. It will never develop.
So this is what this looks like.
You can see a very stunted plant.
So how do you, and so now this, right beside it, what's happened to this? Why is this one not wilted like this one?
Well, we have not we, but the entire scientific community have isolated genes for resistance from the wild tomato species that are grown in South America. These genes were crossed, or these plants were crossed with a domesticated tomato, and the genes were transferred into the domesticated tomato, and now you have to face a problem. A, how to stabilize this resistance in a tomato, and B, how to make it a commercial tomato, because as a consumer, you don't ask yourself if this plant is resistant or not. As a consumer, you want to have a big tomato, a small tomato, a sweet tomato, a sour tomato. So you have to establish all this horticultural characteristic in this plant that contains also the gene for resistance. Now, if you can see, look here, you can see that all this greenhouse is wrapped with an insect-proof net.
Yeah.
Every single tomato greenhouse in Israel is wrapped with this net.
It's very expensive.
Very expensive, reduces light intensity, reduces yield, but this is the only means you can protect the plants which are susceptible against this insect.
Now, what people have been doing currently is they'd be spraying pesticides to kill these bugs?
They tried 3 times a day and they never succeeded. So only the physical means actually help them in protecting the plants. By introducing this single gene into this plant, we can save all the spraying, all the net housing and things like that, and have healthy looking tomato, environment friendly, without any sprays, without any poisoning of the environment.
Amazing. Thank you so much for doing this kind of work and producing really great tomatoes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
More P3 when we return.